Amara's sneakers squeak on the marble floor, echoing through the grand lobby. Gerald looks up, his smile tight, eyes cold as he scans her hoodie and duffel bag. The Employee of the Month plaque behind him tilts, distorting her reflection. Reservation name? Fields. He types slowly, fingers pausing over each key. A guest behind her coughs, shifting uncomfortably. The desk between them feels wide, a barrier more than a welcome. Gerald's pen hovers, refusing to touch her ID. Nothing here. Maybe try the budget inn down the block. I'll wait. A child points at Amara's shoes, whispering to her mother, who quickly hushes her. The chandelier's light seems to avoid Amara, shining instead on Gerald. Amara's gaze is steady, refusing to look away. The air thickens, heavy with unspoken judgment and quiet resistance. A phone camera clicks, catching the tension in the room. Gerald's smile falters, just for a second. The lobby grows still, every sound amplified. Somewhere, a clock ticks, counting down to something neither of them can see. Before the story continues, please let us know from where you are watching this video. Write your city or country in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit like if you believe in stories that challenge injustice. Your engagement gives power to voices that need to be heard. Gerald's fingers drum on the counter, each tap measured and slow. He glances at the screen, eyes narrowing, then looks past Amara as if she's not there. Her ID sits untouched on the marble, a silent challenge. Other guests in line shift, some watching, others pretending to read their phones. He finally speaks, voice clipped. I don't see your reservation. Maybe you made a mistake. Amara doesn't flinch. I booked weeks ago. He shrugs, lips pressed thin. We're at full capacity. You might want to check somewhere else. A bellhop glances over, hesitates, then turns away, polishing the brass luggage cart. Amara's jaw tightens, but her voice stays calm. I'll wait until you check again. Gerald sighs, scrolling half-heartedly. Like I said, nothing's coming up. A woman in line whispers to her partner, eyes darting between Amara and Gerald. The desk, meant for welcome, becomes a barrier. Gerald's hands hover over the keyboard, never reaching for her ID. The air is thick with discomfort, every movement slow and deliberate. Amara stands her ground, unmoved by the cold routine. A guest drops a room key, the clatter breaking the tension for a moment. Gerald glances up, annoyed, then returns to his screen. Amara's reflection in the polished marble is clear, unwavering. He finally pushes her ID back, not meeting her gaze. Sorry, nothing I can do. Amara doesn't move. The line behind her grows, but she remains, a quiet refusal to be dismissed. Amara stands firm, her eyes locked on Gerald. He avoids her gaze, shifting his weight as if the floor beneath him has grown unsteady. The chandelier overhead flickers, casting uneven shadows across the lobby. A family in line stiffens, sensing the tension but saying nothing, caught between curiosity and discomfort. Gerald clears his throat, voice softer now. I've checked twice. There's nothing under your name. Amara's reply is steady, almost gentle. Could you try again? He hesitates, fingers hovering above the keyboard. I don't think it'll change anything. She doesn't blink. Please. A bellhop wheels a cart past, pausing just long enough to offer Amara a sympathetic glance before moving on. The mother in line squeezes her child's hand, her lips pressed in a thin line. Gerald's smile falters, replaced by a tightness around his mouth. He glances at the screen, then at Amara, then away. I'm just following the usual steps. Amara's voice is quiet, but firm. I understand. Wait! A heavy pause settles over the lobby. The family behind her shifts, the father clearing his throat, but no one speaks up. Gerald's hand trembles as he adjusts his tie. For the first time he seems unsure, his confidence slipping. Amara's calm presence grows heavier, filling the space between them with something unspoken and immovable. The chandelier's light dims, leaving the lobby in a softer glow. Gerald looks down, his posture shrinking. Amara remains, her dignity untouched, refusing to be diminished by doubt or dismissal. A bell rings at the far end of the lobby, breaking the moment. Gerald glances up, but Amara's gaze never wavers. Key, low voice ripples through the lobby, barely above a whisper. "Is that Amara Fields?" A guest near the entrance leans in, recognition dawning. The hush spreads, heads turning, eyes widening. Paparazzi outside press against the glass, cameras raised, waiting for a glimpse. Gerald stiffens, his hand frozen above the keyboard. Amara lowers her hood, revealing her face to the room. The hotel's screen behind the desk flashes her hit, Single, the melody faintly leaking from a guest's headphones. Gerald's composure falters, his practiced routine slipping away. A woman near the window gasps, her phone already out to capture the moment. The bellhop from earlier stops mid-step, his mouth open in surprise. Amara says nothing, her presence louder than any accusation. Gerald's voice cracks. You're that singer, aren't you?" Amara doesn't answer, simply meets his eyes. The balance in the room shifts, the quiet growing dense with meaning. Gerald looks around, searching for support, but finds only stares and raised phones. The screen behind him loops her music video, the lyrics echoing dignity and strength. A child tugs at his mother's sleeve, whispering, "She's famous." The mother nods, her expression softening. The bellhop finally speaks, voice trembling. "Welcome to the Regency, Miss Fields." Gerald's jaw clenches, his authority fading. Amara's gaze remains steady, her silence a statement. Gerald fumbles with the keyboard, suddenly eager to find her reservation. The guests watch, some filming, all aware that something important has shifted. The lobby feels transformed, the old barriers dissolving in the wake of one quiet revelation. Amara stands at the center, seen and acknowledged, while Gerald's certainty unravels. The Employee of the Month plaque behind Gerald tilts further, the screws loosening as if the wall itself is tired of holding up old stories. Gerald's jaw slackens, caught between embarrassment and disbelief. He glances at the plaque, then at Amara, then at the growing crowd. His voice is barely audible. "I didn't realize—" Amara doesn't respond. Her steady posture says enough. The bellhop, now standing a little taller, glances at Gerald, waiting for him to act. The guests in line shift, their attention fixed on the unfolding scene. Someone in the back quietly starts recording, the red light on their phone blinking. Gerald's hand hovers near the plaque as if he might straighten it, but he thinks better of it. Instead, he turns back to the computer, his fingers fumbling over the keys. "Let's see if there's been a mistake," he mutters, his confidence drained. A manager appears at the edge of the lobby, eyes narrowed, sensing trouble. The air is thick with anticipation, everyone waiting for what comes next. The mother in line whispers to her child, "Watch closely." The child nods, wide-eyed. Amara's presence fills the lobby, her dignity unshaken. Gerald's authority, once unquestioned, now feels paper-thin. The plaque's reflection is fractured, pieces of Amara and Gerald distorted in the brass. A bell rings at the front desk, sharp and insistent. Gerald flinches, then forces a smile, but it doesn't reach his eyes. The lobby holds its collective, breath, suspended between the collapse of old habits and the arrival of new scrutiny. Amara stands at the center, calm and resolute, as the world begins to watch and the first cracks in the system appear. A faded logbook sits beneath the counter, its pages curling at the edges. Gerald flips through, searching for Amara's name, but his hand pauses over a scribbled-out entry. Years ago, a black couple stood at this same desk, their reservation lost in the shuffle. The memory flickers in the back of his mind, her polite smile, his hopeful eyes, the way Gerald barely looked at them before turning them away. Down the hall, a housekeeper stacks towels, her hands trembling. She remembers that night, the couple's quiet disappointment, the way they left without complaint. She presses the towels tighter, as if trying to squeeze the memory out. Gerald clears his throat, glancing at the logbook. "Sometimes things get mixed up," he says, not meeting Amara's eyes. Amara doesn't answer. The bellhop nearby shifts his weight, glancing at the page, then at Gerald. The guests in line grow restless, sensing the tension but not understanding its roots. Gerald closes the logbook with a snap, pushing it aside. "No record here," he says, voice thin. The bellhop hesitates, then quietly asks, "Do you want me to check the back office?" Gerald shakes his head too quickly. The housekeeper passes by, her gaze lingering on Amara for a moment, a silent apology in her eyes. Amara notices, offering a small nod in return. The air feels heavier, the lobby's polished surfaces unable to hide the pattern repeating itself. A guest at the end of the line whispers, "Didn't this happen before?" The question hangs in the air, unanswered, but not unnoticed. Gerald's fingers drum nervously on the counter, the logbook now a silent witness to years of erasure. Amara stands her ground, the weight of history pressing in, but her presence refusing to be written out. A yellowed envelope rests on the staff room table, edges curled, the handwriting shaky but clear. Amara sits on the edge of her bed upstairs, the letter in her hands. She reads the words slowly. "I quit because I couldn't scrub away their shame." The ink has bled in places, as if the writer's regret seeped through the paper. Downstairs, Gerald straightens his tie in the mirror, oblivious to the letter's existence. He hums quietly, rehearsing his usual lines. In the hallway, the housekeeper passes by, her eyes catching the envelope before she moves on, a flicker of guilt in her glance. Amara's hands tremble, not from anger, but from the weight of someone else's truth. She looks out the window, watching the city lights blur. The letter continues. "They always said it was just a mistake, but the mistakes only happen to people who looked like me." A knock at the door startles her. The bellhop stands awkwardly, holding a fresh towel. "If you need anything, just ask," he says, voice low. Amara nods, folding the letter carefully and slipping it into her bag. Gerald greets a new guest at the front desk, his voice smooth, rehearsed. He doesn't notice the housekeeper pausing at the staff room door, her hand hovering over the knob, debating whether to retrieve the letter or leave it for someone else to find. Amara sits back on the bed, the letter heavy in her bag. She closes her eyes for a moment, feeling the burden of stories left unsaid. The hotel's walls seem to press in, echoing with apologies never spoken aloud. She stands, determination settling in her chest. The letter is proof, not just of one person's conscience, but of a pattern that refuses to be erased. Samir polishes the brass handles at the elevator, his movements slow and deliberate. He glances over his shoulder at Amara, guilt flickering in his eyes. The memory of being scolded for helping a black guest resurfaces. A manager's cold rebuke. The warning, to know his place. He swallows hard, the rag twisting in his hands. Amara waits nearby, watching the numbers above the elevator doors. Samir hesitates, then steps closer, voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry about what happened at the desk. I wanted to step in, but—" His words trail off, the fear of losing his job hanging between them. A guest approaches, nodding politely at Samir, who straightens and forces a smile. The guest enters the elevator, oblivious to the tension. Samir's hands tremble as he presses the button for the lobby, the metal cool against his skin. Amara turns to him, her tone gentle. "You don't have to apologize to me." He shakes, his head, eyes downcast. "It's not right, but if I say something, they'll just replace me." A pause stretches between them, heavy with resignation and regret. The elevator doors slide open. Samir steps aside, allowing Amara to enter first. He meets her gaze for a brief moment, searching for forgiveness or understanding. She nods, a silent acknowledgement of the impossible position he's in. As the doors close, Samir returns to the brass handles, his reflection warped in the metal. He wipes away a fingerprint, but the feeling of complicity lingers. A supervisor passes by giving him a curt nod, and Samir quickly resumes his work, shoulders tense. Upstairs, Amara leans against the elevator wall, thinking of all the small betrayals that add up to something much larger. The system's cracks are widening, and Samir's regret is just one more fracture. A grainy video flickers on a guest's phone. The screen's glow drawing a small crowd in the lobby. Gerald's face appears, captured by the security camera as he redirects a black guest to a lower floor. His smile is stiff, his posture rigid. The footage loops, each replay peeling away the hotel's polished image. A teenager holds up her phone for her mother to see. "That's him, right?" she whispers. The mother nods, lips pressed tight. Gerald glances over, noticing the cluster of onlookers, his jaw tightening as he recognizes himself on the screen. The bellhop, Samir, pauses mid-step, eyes darting from the video to Gerald. A manager hurries past, pretending not to see the growing crowd. The front desk clerk beside Gerald shifts uneasily, adjusting her scarf, her gaze fixed on the marble floor. Amara stands at a distance, watching the scene unfold. She catches Samir's eye. He gives a quick, uncertain nod. The guests murmur, their voices low but urgent. "How many times has this happened?" one asks. Another shakes his head, disappointment clear in his expression. Gerald clears his throat, trying to regain control. "Please, everyone, let's not jump to conclusions." His words sound thin, unconvincing. The video plays again, the evidence undeniable. The air in the lobby grows tense, the usual hum replaced by anxious whispers. A child tugs at her father's sleeve. "Why did he do that?" The father doesn't answer, his face clouded with concern. The hotel's glossy surfaces reflect the unease. Every polished edge now a reminder of what's been hidden. Amara steps forward, her presence quiet but commanding. The crowd parts slightly, giving her space. Gerald looks away, unable to meet her gaze. The truth, once buried in shadows, now plays out in the open for all to see. A single tweet flashes across Amara's phone. Even celebrities aren't safe. Check your bias. Within minutes, the hashtag explodes, filling her feed with stories denied leases, suspicious glances, security tales. Amara retweets, her fingers steady, her screen lighting up with solidarity from strangers and fans alike. Gerald sits at the front desk, his phone buzzing nonstop. He glances at a message. "Dad, is this true?" From his daughter. He stares at the screen, thumb hovering, then deletes the message without replying. His hands tremble as he pockets the phone, trying to focus on the computer, but the notifications keep coming. A guest nearby scrolls through her feed, eyes widening. "Look at this," she whispers to her partner, showing him a video of Gerald from the leaked footage. The partner shakes his head, disbelief and disappointment mixing in his voice. "It's everywhere now." Samir, the bellhop, checks his own phone, pausing at a post from a former coworker. "I left because I couldn't take it anymore." He exhales, shoulders slumping, the weight of complicity settling deeper. Amara's phone vibrates again, a direct message from a young fan. "Thank you for speaking up. I thought I was alone." She types back, "You're not," her reply brief but sincere. The lobby feels different now, the usual chatter replaced by the constant ping of alerts and the low murmur of shared outrage. Gerald tries to maintain his composure, but his voice is strained when he addresses the next guest. "Welcome to the Regency Grand." The guest barely looks at him, eyes glued to her phone. Outside, a group gathers, holding up signs with the hashtag. Their voices rise in unison, echoing through the glass. Amara stands taller, the movement swelling around her, the tide of truth impossible to turn back. The manager strides into Gerald's office, a thick folder clutched in her hand. She tosses it onto his desk, pages fanning out, complaints, incident reports, guest statements. Gerald's eyes dart from the documents to her face, searching for a hint of leniency. She doesn't blink. "We can't hide this anymore," she says, her voice firm. "Either you fix it, or you're finished here." Gerald forces a laugh, but it's brittle. You think this is all my fault? She leans in, lowering her voice. This isn't about blame. It's about survival, for the hotel, and for you. Outside the office, the sound of chanting grows louder. Protesters march past the windows, their signs bold. Dignity over diamonds. Staff gather near the hallway, whispering, exchanging uneasy glances. A bellhop squeezes his hands together, knuckles white, while a front desk clerk chews her lip. Eyes on the floor. Gerald flips through the folder, each page a reminder of choices made and warnings ignored. He looks up, desperate. What do you want me to do? The manager's jaw tightens. Start by owning what you've done. Then step aside if you can't change. A glass rattles on a tray outside the door. The tension in the room is thick, enough to taste. Gerald's voice drops. If I go, who takes the fall? She straightens, gaze unwavering. Maybe it's time the right person does. He stares at the folder, shoulders sagging. The manager turns to leave, pausing at the door. You have until the end of the day. As she walks away, Gerald sits in the dim light, the folder open before him. The chants outside grow louder, rattling the windows. His world, once so secure, now feels as fragile as the paper in his hands. A dimly lit office hums with the quiet buzz of a computer. Gerald sits alone, the glow of the monitor casting sharp shadows across his face. His coffee cup, long forgotten, has gone cold. The screen displays a viral blog post titled, "I saw him do it. I stayed silent." No more. His fingers hover over the keyboard, trembling slightly. The words on the screen seem to fracture his composure, each sentence a crack in the facade he's maintained for years. His reflection in the monitor is fragmented, a man unraveling in real time. Outside the office, footsteps echo faintly. A janitor passes by, pausing to glance at the door before moving on. The weight of unseen eyes presses in, heavy and relentless. Gerald's breath catches. He leans back, rubbing his temples, the tension visible in the tight line of his jaw. Thus, a quiet is thick, filled with the ghosts of whispered truths and broken promises. A notification pops up on the screen, another comment flooding in. No more hiding, no more silence. He closes his eyes briefly, the fight draining from him. The room feels smaller, the walls closing in as the system he upheld begins to collapse. The blog post continues to scroll, the words echoing louder than any shout. Gerald's world narrows to the glow of the screen and the undeniable truth it reveals. Maria stands in the service hallway, her uniform wrinkled from a long shift. She glances around, making sure no one is watching, then slips a folded note into Amara's hand as she passes. "Room 407, check the vent," she whispers, eyes darting to the security camera before hurrying away. Amara enters the room, heart pounding. She kneels by the vent, unscrewing the cover. Inside, she finds a bundle of shredded papers, old complaint forms, guest letters, staff statements, all torn and hidden away. Her hands shake as she pieces together the fragments, reading words like refused, unfair, and ignored. Downstairs, Maria wipes a table, her apron now untied and hanging loose. She catches Gerald's eye as he walks by, but doesn't look away this time. He pauses, sensing the shift, but moves on without a word. Amara lays the papers on the bed, smoothing each scrap. The evidence is damning. Years of voices silenced and concerns dismissed. She snaps photos, documenting everything. The weight of proof settles on her shoulders, heavier than anger, steadier than fear. A housekeeper knocks, eyes wide. "You found it?" Amara nods, gratitude flickering between them. Maria's rebellion is quiet but unmistakable, a refusal to let the past be buried any longer. Back in the hallway, Maria reties her apron, chin lifted. Other staff notice, some nodding in silent support. The uniform, once a symbol of submission, now marks the beginning of something new. Amara gathers the evidence, resolve hardening. Maria's small act has broken the pattern, giving the truth a chance to breathe. The system's cracks widen, and for the first time, hope enters the room. Gerald sits at his desk, the glow of his computer screen casting a harsh light on his face. His fingers hover over the keyboard, then begin to type an email with a bold, defensive tone. "They're overreacting," he writes. "We're the victims here." He pauses, rereading the words, a tight smile curling on his lips. Confident, he hits send. Minutes later, a reply pops up. "Resign or be fired." His eyes widen, the screen blurring as his hands tremble. The cursor blinks, waiting for a response he can't find. Outside, a news van parks, its antenna slicing through the hotel's skyline. The lobby buzzes with whispers and the low hum of phones capturing every moment. Gerald leans back, the chair creaking under the weight of his unraveling facade. His reflection in the monitor fractures, a man losing control. A staff member passes by, casting a wary glance. Gerald's forced smile falters, the arrogance draining away. The email thread scrolls endlessly, a digital testament to a system cracking under pressure. The hotel's polished surfaces reflect the growing storm, each notification a drop in the flood. Gerald's world narrows to the glow of the screen and the undeniable truth it reveals. The morning air vibrates with the sound of voices rising outside the hotel. Protesters gather, their signs bold and clear, "Dignity over diamonds held." High above the crowd, chants ripple through the street, echoing off the glass and stone. Inside, Gerald stands by the window, watching the sea of people swell. Samir lingers in the lobby, his hands gripping the luggage cart. He looks out at the crowd, then at his co-workers. A front desk clerk bites her lip, uncertain. The manager paces behind the counter, glancing nervously at the growing demonstration. A teenager in the crowd locks eyes with Samir through the glass, her expression unyielding. The challenge in her gaze is unmistakable. Samir hesitates, then releases the cart, stepping away from his post. He unbuttons his uniform jacket, leaving it draped over the bench by the door. The chanting grows louder as Samir pushes through the revolving doors, joining the protest. The staff inside watch, some with surprise, others with quiet approval. Gerald's jaw tightens, his authority slipping as he sees Samir disappear into the crowd. A guest films the scene on her phone, capturing the moment the hotel's facade begins to crumble. The marble lobby, once a symbol of exclusion, now feels exposed, vulnerable to the collective will outside. Amara stands in the background, her presence a steady anchor. The protesters' voices rise in unison, demanding change, refusing to be silenced. The energy in the air is electric, charged with hope and defiance. Inside, the staff exchange glances, the shift unmistakable. The old order is breaking. The protest's pulse beats through the walls, signaling a new day for everyone inside. Gerald sits alone in his office, phone buzzing with relentless notifications. He scrolls through messages, his daughter's post appearing at the top. "I'm ashamed to share his name." The words hit harder than any headline. He stares at a framed photo on his desk. Her childhood smile, now distant, unreachable. He tries to call her, but the call goes straight to voicemail. His hand lingers over the phone, unsure whether to try again. Outside the door, footsteps echo, and then fade. The staff's laughter in the hallway sounds sharper, more pointed, as if the walls themselves have taken sides. A reporter's number flashes on his screen. Gerald lets it ring, unwilling to face questions he can no longer answer. He looks around, noticing how empty the office feels, how the awards and certificates on the wall seem to mock him now. A cleaning staff member enters quietly, emptying the trash. She glances at Gerald, her expression unreadable, then leaves without a word. He watches her go, feeling the weight of isolation settle over him. He opens his daughter's post again, reading it slowly, hoping for a different meaning. But the truth is clear, his actions have cost him more than a job. They've fractured the one bond he thought was unbreakable. Gerald sets the phone down, his shoulders slumping. The world outside his office moves on, but inside time stands still. He closes his eyes, the sound of distant voices and the memory of his daughter's words echoing in the quiet. The boardroom is tense, every chair filled, hands clutching papers and pens. Votes are cast, one after another, each yes a nail in the old system's coffin. The hotel's nameplate is removed from the conference table, replaced by a temporary sign change in progress. Gerald's name is erased from every document, his photo quietly taken down from the lobby wall. Downstairs, Amara waits at the front desk. The clerk hands her the final receipt, stamped paid in full. She glances at the chandelier above, its light finally reaching the far corners of the lobby. The staff behind the desk exchange glances, some relieved, some uncertain, all aware that nothing will be the same. A maintenance worker passes by, rolling paint over the wall where Gerald's portrait once hung. The air feels lighter, as if the building itself is exhaling after holding its breath for too long. Outside, the protest signs are lowered, replaced by conversations about what comes next. Amara steps out into the morning sun, the city humming with new energy. The hotel's website refreshes, Gerald's face scrubbed from every page. The board's emergency meeting is over, the old guard gone. A new manager is announced, her first words clear: "We will do better." As Amara leaves, the chandelier flickers, then steadies, its light no longer blocked by shadows. The hotel's heart monitor, a system once flatlining, now shows the first signs of life returning. Staff gather in the lobby, some hugging, others wiping away tears, all feeling the shift. The doors open wide, inviting in a future not yet written. Amara glances back once, then walks forward, her steps echoing hope across the marble floor. Reporters fill every seat, cameras blinking red, their lenses fixed on the long table where Amara sits, hands folded, a folder of evidence in front of her. Gerald sits across, shoulders hunched, eyes darting between board members. The hotel's logo on the wall is faded, the gold edges chipped and dull. A board member clears her throat. "We're here to address serious allegations." Her voice is steady, but her fingers drum nervously on the stack of documents. Amara looks up, meeting her gaze without flinching. Gerald's jaw works, but he says nothing. A staff member stands by the door, arms crossed, watching the room with a wary expression. The tension is palpable, every breath measured. Amara opens the folder, sliding a photo across the table. "This is from your own security footage," she says, voice calm. "It's not just about me. It's about everyone who's been turned away." Gerald shifts in his seat, the chair creaking under his weight. "Procedures were followed," he mutters, but his words lack conviction. Another board member leans forward, frowning. "We've seen the footage. We've read the complaints. This isn't just a misunderstanding." A reporter scribbles notes, eyes flicking between Amara and Gerald. The staff member at the door lets out a slow breath, the only sound in the heavy quiet. Amara's voice remains even. "I'm not here to shout. I'm here to be heard." "Tai," board chair nods, her face grave. "We will hear all evidence. Today, the truth takes the stand." Gerald's hands grip the edge of the table, knuckles white. Amara sits taller, her calm presence filling the room. The old power structure feels brittle, ready to break. The weight of truth presses down, and everyone knows there's no turning back. The door opens quietly, and Amara steps into the conference room. Her blazer is sharp, her posture straight, every movement deliberate. The room falls into a hush. Gerald's breath catches as she approaches the table, her eyes meeting his with unwavering calm. The board members shift in their seats, some clearing their throats, others glancing at their notes. Amara places her folder on the table, her hands steady. She doesn't rush. The only sound is the faint hum of the overhead lights and the distant click of a camera lens. Gerald's fingers fidget with his tie, the knot suddenly too tight. A board member, an older man with silver hair, watches her closely, his brow furrowed. She sits, folding her hands, waiting. The silence stretches, heavy and intentional. Gerald tries to fill it. "Miss Fields, we—" Amara's gaze holds him. In place. He falters, words drying up. The board chair gestures for him to stop, her expression unreadable. A reporter in the corner scribbles something, pausing to look up as Amara's necklace catches the light. A small gold fist, gleaming against her collarbone. The symbol is unmistakable, and the room seems to lean in, waiting. The board chair clears her throat. "Miss Fields, you may begin." Amara nods, her voice quiet but clear. "I'm here to speak for myself and for everyone who's been told to wait, to accept less, to disappear." Gerald looks away, the tension in his jaw visible. A staff member by the door nods, just once, a subtle show of support. The silence is no longer empty. It's charged, a force that bends the room's attention toward Amara. She opens her folder, ready to let the truth speak. A remote clicks, and the screen at the end of the table comes to life, filling the room with the grainy footage from the hotel's own cameras. Gerald's face appears, captured in the act of steering black guests toward the least desirable rooms. The evidence is undeniable, each frame a silent indictment. A board member leans forward, jaw clenched, as the footage loops. Amara doesn't. Look away from the screen, her expression steady. Gerald's eyes dart from the video to the table, his hands gripping his chair. The room is still, the only sound the soft whir of the projector. A reporter's pen snaps in her hand, the tension making her flinch. The staff member by the door shifts his weight, crossing his arms tighter. Amara's hands rest quietly on the table, her calm a stark contrast to the images flickering behind her. Gerald tries to speak, his voice thin. "That's not the whole story." The board chair raises a hand, stopping him. "We've seen enough." A younger board member shakes her head, disappointment etched across her face. "This isn't about one mistake, it's a pattern." The video pauses on Gerald's tight smile, frozen in time. Amara finally turns to the board. "This is what people see when they come here. This is what you've allowed." Gerald's shoulders slump, the fight draining from him. The board chair sighs, her resolve hardening. "We'll move to a decision." The screen fades to black, leaving the room in a heavy quiet. Amara closes her folder, her work done. The truth, once hidden in shadows and denials, now fills the space, impossible to ignore. Gerald's hand moves to his collar, tugging at the knot as if it's choking him. His shirt clings damply to his back. He glances at the board, searching for sympathy, but finds only blank faces and averted eyes. Amara sits across from him, her posture unyielding. She doesn't gloat, she simply waits. A board member clears his throat but says nothing. The chairwoman's gaze is fixed, her lips pressed in a thin line. Gerald's voice wavers. I was just following instructions." His words fall flat, met with silence. The staff member at the door shifts, arms now folded, gaze cool. Gerald's fingers fumble with his tie, loosening it with a jerk. The gesture is desperate, unpracticed. His reflection in the polished table is pale, eyes wide, mouth drawn. The room feels smaller, the air thick and unmoving. Amara speaks softly. "It's not just about rules. It's about respect." He looks down, unable to meet her eyes. "I didn't mean—" She interrupts, voice steady. "Intent doesn't erase harm." A reporter scribbles furiously, capturing every word. The board chairwoman leans back, her decision clear in her posture. Gerald's shoulders sag, the weight of consequence pressing down. A clock ticks on the wall, each second stretching. Gerald's composure unravels, his authority slipping away with every shallow breath. The staff member by the door nods once, a quiet acknowledgement of the shift. Amara's calm remains, filling the space left by Gerald's collapse. The board prepares to speak, the moment of reckoning close. Gerald's tie, once a symbol of control, now hangs limp around his neck. The room is silent, everyone waiting for the verdict that will finally break the old order. The board chairwoman sits forward, her eyes sweeping the table. She doesn't raise her voice. Mr. Whitman, your employment here is terminated, effective immediately. The words land with finality, no gavel needed. Gerald's chair scrapes, back the sound sharp in the quiet. He stands, shoulders hunched, unable to look at anyone. A board member slides a letter across the table. Gerald's hand shakes as he takes it, the paper trembling between his fingers. The staff member by the door straightens, arms uncrossing as the balance shifts. Amara watches, her face composed, not triumphant, just resolute. Gerald tries to speak, but the words catch in his throat. The board chairwoman shakes her head, signaling there's nothing left to say. A reporter lowers her pen, the story already written in the room's heavy air. Outside the conference room, staff gather, their voices hushed. As Gerald steps into the hallway, they turn away, no longer willing to meet his gaze. His authority, once taken for granted, dissolves with each step. Amara closes her folder, standing slowly. The board chairwoman nods to her, respect in her eyes. The old order has broken, not with shouting but with a quiet, irreversible shift. Gerald lingers at the door, gripping the letter. The staff member offers a brief, almost sympathetic nod, but says nothing. The board members begin to rise. Their work done for now. Amara leaves the table, her steps measured. The burden of proof finally lifted. The room, once tense with denial, now breathes with the possibility of change. No gavel, no applause, just the sound of a door closing behind Gerald as the chapter ends. Gerald steps into the hallway, the letter clutched in his hand, knuckles white. He walks past bellhops who glance away, suddenly busy with luggage that doesn't need moving. His shoes scuff the floor, each step heavier than the last. The Employee of the Month plaque hangs at an awkward angle, his name scratched out, the brass dulled by fingerprints. He pauses, looking back at the closed conference room door, but no one follows. A maintenance worker pushes a cart past him, offering a brief nod before disappearing around the corner. Gerald's shoulders slump as he heads for the side exit, avoiding the lobby where reporters and staff have gathered. Outside, flashes from cameras light up the alley. Paparazzi call his name, but he keeps his head down, pushing through the narrow space between dumpsters and delivery trucks. His suit jacket catches on a metal handle, tearing the fabric. He doesn't stop to fix it. A gust of wind scatters a stack of old hotel brochures across the pavement. Gerald lets them go, the pages tumbling into puddles. He glances up at the back entrance where a bellhop stands smoking, watching with a mix of curiosity and pity. Gerald offers a weak half-smile, but the bellhop just flicks his ash and turns away. He leaves through the service door, the one reserved for staff and deliveries. The alley smells of rain and exhaust, a far cry from the hotel's polished marble. Gerald's footsteps fade into the city's noise, his pride trailing behind him, torn and discarded like his jacket. Inside, the staff begin to gather, the tension easing. The old order has left by the back door, and something new waits quietly to take its place. Outside the hotel, a wave of cheers erupts as word spreads. Gerald is gone. Protesters lift their signs higher, voices blending into a single powerful chant that rolls down the block. Dignity now, justice now. The crowd's energy vibrates against the glass, shaking the lobby's crystal fixtures. Amara stands at a window on the second floor, watching the scene below. Her eyes glisten, but she doesn't cry. Instead, she lets the sound of the crowd fill her, the rhythm of their voices echoing her own quiet fight. A young fan spots her and points upward, drawing more eyes to the window. Phones rise, snapping, photos, recording the moment. Samir, now outside in the crowd, joins the chant, his voice blending with hundreds of others. The bellhop who once stood silent now pumps his fist, pride replacing hesitation. Staff inside the lobby exchange glances, some smiling, others blinking back tears. The marble floor, once cold and distant, seems to warm beneath the weight of collective hope. A reporter outside catches Amara's gaze and nods, acknowledging her role in what's unfolding. She nods back, a silent agreement passing between them. The hotel's doors open wide, letting the sound of the crowd pour in. The old barriers, unspoken and physical, begin to dissolve. Amara steps away from the window, her shoulders lighter. The chants outside grow louder, echoing through the halls, bouncing off the walls that once held so much quiet pain. The staff gather. Near the entrance, no longer afraid to be seen, their faces turn toward the future. The noise outside isn't just celebration, it's a promise. The world beyond the hotel has heard the truth, and it refuses to let it be buried again. The lobbies. Chandelier, once a symbol of untouchable grandeur, flickers overhead. Its bulbs dim, then flare, casting shifting patterns across the marble floor. Staff gather beneath its glow, some looking up in quiet awe, others exchanging relieved glances. The air feels lighter, as if the building itself has exhaled. Amara walks through the lobby, receipt in hand stamped, paid in full. She pauses beneath the chandelier, looking up as a maintenance worker climbs a ladder to replace a burnt-out bulb. He glances down, offering a small, genuine smile. She returns it, her gratitude silent but clear. A young front desk clerk wipes down the counter, her movements careful, almost reverent. She glances at Amara, then at the empty space where Gerald's plaque once hung. The wall looks bare, but somehow more honest. Outside, the last of the protesters lower their signs, some lingering to talk quietly, others embracing. The energy in the lobby shifts from tension to possibility. Staff begin to remove the velvet ropes that once separated, guests rolling them away and opening the space. Amara heads for the door, her steps unhurried. The chandelier's new bulb glows steadily, casting warm light into corners that were once left in shadow. As she leaves, the staff gather near the entrance, nodding to her as she passes. Their faces reflect relief, hope, and something like pride. Thud, doors open, letting in fresh air and the muted sounds of the city. Amara glances back once, seeing the lobby transformed, not perfect, but changed. The chandelier's light, no longer flickering, shines across every face in the room. Reporters fill every seat, cameras blinking red, their lenses fixed on the long table where Amara sits, hands folded, a folder of evidence in front of her. Gerald sits across, shoulders hunched, eyes darting between board members. The hotel's logo on the wall is faded, the gold edges chipped and dull. A board member clears her throat. "We're here to address serious allegations." Her voice is steady, but her fingers drum nervously on the stack of documents. Amara looks up, meeting her gaze without flinching. Gerald's jaw works, but he says nothing. A staff member stands by the door, arms crossed, watching the room with a wary expression. The tension is palpable, every breath measured. Amara opens the folder, sliding a photo across the table. "This is from your own security footage," she says, voice calm. "It's not just about me. It's about everyone who's been turned away." Gerald shifts in his seat, the chair creaking under his weight. "Procedures were followed," he mutters, but his words lack conviction. Another board member leans forward, frowning. "We've seen the footage. We've read the complaints. This isn't just a misunderstanding." A reporter scribbles notes, eyes flicking between Amara and Gerald. The staff member at the door lets out a slow breath, the only sound in the heavy quiet. Amara's voice remains even. "I'm not here to shout. I'm here to be heard." The board chair nods, her face grave. "We will hear all evidence. Today, the truth takes the stand." Gerald's hands grip the edge of the table, knuckles white. Amara sits taller, her calm presence filling the room. The old power structure feels brittle, ready to break. The weight of truth presses down, and everyone knows there's no turning back. A board member clicks the remote, and the screen at the far end of the room lights up. Security footage rolls, showing Gerald at the front desk, his posture rigid as he directs black guests away from prime rooms. The images are grainy but unmistakable, each loop a silent accusation. Reporters lean forward, pens poised. Amara's reflection glows faintly in the monitor, her expression steady as the evidence plays out. Gerald's face reddens, his hands gripping the arms of his chair. The board members exchange glances, discomfort clear in the set of their jaws, and the furrow of brows. A staff member by the door shifts, folding her arms tighter across her chest. The chandelier overhead flickers, casting jagged shadows across the table. Gerald tries to speak, voice thin. That footage doesn't show the whole story. The board chair raises a hand, cutting him off. We've seen enough. A reporter's pen snaps, the sharp sound echoing in the tense room. Amara's hands rest quietly on the table, her calm unbroken. The video pauses on Gerald's face, caught mid-sentence, the screen freezing him in an act impossible to explain away. A younger board member shakes his head, disappointment clear. This isn't about one incident. It's a pattern. Gerald's shoulders slump, his authority slipping further with every word. The screen fades to black, leaving the room in a heavy pause. Amara closes her folder, her work done. The truth, pixel by pixel, has spoken for itself, and the room feels changed, no longer a place for denial, but for reckoning. The board chairwoman sits forward, her eyes steady, voice low. Mr. Whitman, your employment is terminated. Effective. Immediately. No gavel, no ceremony, just the quiet certainty of her words. Gerald's chair scrapes against the floor as he stands, the sound sharp in the otherwise still room. He reaches for the letter slid across the table, his hand unsteady. The paper trembles between his fingers. A staff member at the door straightens, her posture shifting as the balance of power changes. Amara remains seated, her expression composed, watching the moment unfold without triumph, only resolve. Gerald opens his mouth to speak, but nothing comes out. The board chairwoman shakes her head, signaling that there's nothing left to say. A reporter lowers her notebook, the story already written in the hush that fills the space. Outside the conference room, staff gather in small groups, their voices hushed but hopeful. As Gerald steps into the hallway, they turn away, no longer willing to offer him the comfort of their attention. His authority, once unchallenged, dissolves with every step he takes. Amara closes her folder, rising from her seat. The board chairwoman nods to her, a gesture of respect. The old order has ended. Not with a bang, but with a quiet, irreversible shift. Gerald lingers at the threshold, gripping the letter. The staff member offers a brief, almost sympathetic nod, but says nothing. The board members begin to gather. Their things. The meeting over. Amara leaves the room, her steps measured, the burden of proof finally lifted. The conference room, once a fortress of denial, now feels open. The air lighter, the future uncertain, but possible. A door closes softly behind Gerald, signaling the end of an era. Gerald walks down the back hallway, the letter of termination clutched in his fist. His shoes scuff the linoleum, echoing in the narrow corridor. He passes a janitor mopping the floor, who pauses, meeting Gerald's eyes for a moment before looking away. The air smells faintly of bleach and old coffee. He glances. At the wall where the Employee of the Month plaque now sits in the trash, his name scratched and tarnished. Gerald hesitates, as if considering rescuing it, but lets it be. His steps grow slower as he nears the service exit, the hum of the hotel fading behind him. A bellhop stands by the door, jacket slung over one shoulder. He gives Gerald a nod, neither friendly nor hostile, just acknowledging the end. Gerald tries to return the gesture, but his hand falters. He pushes open the heavy door, stepping into the alley behind the hotel. Outside, the world is gray and damp. The distant sound of celebration drifts from the front of the building, muffled by dumpsters and delivery trucks. Gerald's suit jacket catches on a nail tearing the sleeve. He doesn't stop to fix it. He glances back once, seeing only the closed door and the shadow of the bellhop moving away. The alley is empty, save for a stray cat weaving between garbage cans. Gerald's pride, once so carefully guarded, feels as battered as his jacket. He walks away from the hotel, each step heavier than the last. The staff inside begin to gather, their voices rising with relief. The old order has slipped out the back, leaving behind only the echo of footsteps and the promise of something better. Outside, a surge of voices fills the street as news of Gerald's departure spreads. Protesters press closer to the hotel, their chants rising, "Justice now. Dignity for all." Signs wave above the crowd, their slogans bold against the morning sky. The energy is electric, pulsing through the glass doors and into the marble lobby. Amara stands just inside, her hoodie now a symbol, recognized by the crowd. A young girl at the front of the protest spots her and points, drawing cheers from those around her. Phones are raised, capturing the moment as Amara lifts a hand in quiet acknowledgement. Samir, the bellhop, steps outside, his uniform jacket draped over his arm. He joins the protest, his voice blending with the others. The staff inside. The lobby watch through the glass, some smiling, others blinking back tears. The marble floor, once cold and imposing, seems to glow with warmth as the sound of the crowd grows. A reporter turns from the demonstration to look at Amara, nodding in silent recognition of her role. She nods back, a small but powerful exchange. The hotel's doors are propped open, letting the chants roll in, no longer barriers but invitations. The collective voice outside is more than celebration. It's a promise that the truth will not be silenced again. The staff gather near the entrance, their faces turned toward the future, hope flickering in their eyes. Amara steps forward, her presence steady as the crowd's chant echoes through the halls. The sound shatters the last of the old quiet, filling every corner with the certainty of change. A maintenance worker stands on a small ladder, carefully removing the last screws from the wall where Gerald's Employee of the Month plaque once hung. The patch of wall left behind is lighter, a pale rectangle surrounded by years of grime. The worker steps down, holding the plaque for a moment, before placing it in a cardboard box, already filled with other relics of the old regime. A young black woman, newly hired at the front desk, pauses as she passes. She studies the empty space, her expression thoughtful. The lobby's light, once harsh and clinical, now seems softer, illuminating the patch of bare wall. She runs her hand gently along the smooth surface, as if feeling for what might come next. Nearby, a longtime concierge watches the scene, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. He nods to the new hire, an unspoken welcome in his eyes. Other staff gather, some exchanging quiet words, others simply standing together, taking in the change. The chandelier overhead flickers, then steadies, its glow spreading evenly across the lobby. The velvet ropes that once separated guests from staff have been rolled away, opening the space. The air feels different, lighter, as if the building itself is breathing for the first time in years. Amara lingers by the door, watching the staff reclaim their space. The empty spot on the wall is not a loss, but an invitation. A blank slate for new stories. The hotel, once weighed down by old honors and hidden shame, now stands ready for something better. Amara approaches the front desk, the lobby quieter now, filled with a gentle sense of relief. The new clerk, her smile genuine, hands over a crisp receipt. Amara glances down. $0.0, paid in full. The words feel heavier than any bill she's ever received, a quiet acknowledgement of what's been endured. She takes the slip of paper, fingers brushing against the clerk's. "Thank you," Amara says softly. The clerk nods, her eyes shining with understanding. Behind them, staff gather, watching the exchange. Some nod, others smile, a few wipe away tears. The moment is small, but it ripples through the room. A bellhop, the same one who once looked away, now stands straighter, meeting Amara's gaze with respect. The marble floor, once cold beneath her feet, now seems to support her steps. The city's noise filters in through the open doors, but inside, the atmosphere is calm, hopeful. Amara folds the receipt and slips it into her bag. She turns to leave, pausing to look back at the staff. "Take care of this place," she says, her voice gentle but firm. The new clerk nods, promising silently to do just that. As Amara steps out into the morning light, the staff gather by the entrance, watching. Her go. The receipt in her bag is more than proof of payment. It's a symbol that dignity can't be priced, only recognized. The hotel doors remain open, sunlight streaming in. The lobby breathes easier, the past no longer weighing it down. Amara's quiet victory lingers in the air, a reminder that some debts are paid not with money, but with truth. Staff gather in the meeting room, some clutching notebooks, others simply listening. The manager stands at the front, reading aloud Amara's viral quote, "Dignity isn't earned, it's owed." The words hang in the air, settling over the group like a new promise. A few employees exchange glances, uncertain but curious. A young man in housekeeping raises his hand. Will things really change? The manager nods, her tone steady. They have to. We're starting over. She gestures to a stack of new training materials, each one stamped with the hotel's new logo. The old routines are gone, replaced by a commitment to fairness. In the lobby, the new front desk clerk greets a black family checking in, her welcome warm and unhurried. The parents smile, relieved. Their daughter spins in the open space, laughing as the chandelier's light dances on the floor. Staff watch from a distance, some smiling, others blinking back emotion. A longtime concierge, once silent, offers to help with luggage. The new hire from earlier stands beside him, both of them sharing a look that says, "We're part of this, now." The velvet ropes remain tucked away, the lobby open and bright. As the meeting ends, employees linger, talking quietly about what comes next. The manager's voice carries down the hall. This is just the beginning. The staff disperse, each step a small act of hope. The chandelier, newly repaired, glows steadily above them. No shadows linger in the corners. The hotel breathes with possibility, every whisper of change becoming policy, every quiet promise a step toward something better.